Still the microphone, but we might check on the line.
Just into
shooting,
tunnel.
yeah, right.
Is it working? It's no good if you can't hear us.
Exactly.
Or maybe that's better, actually. Ronan Keating was right sometimes. You say it better.
Got audio.
Life is a
Okay,
roller
we're
coaster.
going.
You got to ride it.
Cool.
Yeah.
So do I need to apologise for Cone again?
Okay, there's some complaints still of no audio, but
All right.
you guys are getting audio,
Oh,
right?
buzz, mate.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry, I'm not sure what's happening with the sound, but some people are getting it, some people are not. If you're on your phone, maybe, I'm not sure.
We could sing in the meantime.
Yeah, we could sing
Oh,
the
somebody
mystery
said it's
marks.
working now. Excellent. So we have sound. Yay! All right.
This is what happens when you go live. So.
This is the challenges of live. Okay, let's go to Stephanie then,
Yeah,
and we'll
you,
go.
so they do it.
Did we miss the, sorry, we would have missed the Cone excuse then, yeah?
Yeah, do you want to do
Maybe,
that again?
yeah, sorry. Just,
Yeah. So let's.
I was late because I was getting changed and I was on the phone to Connor, who plays Harry. It was much funnier earlier and true. He's not well. He's got the shits. He's got a dicky tummy. So he sends his apologies. He can't be here. But he's.
But you do a really good impression of him, though.
There's
So maybe you
gonna
can
be-
answer for him if
Oh
there's
well,
any
if
questions.
there's
for
one, I
Connor.
will. Yes,
You can do
okay.
your Connor voice.
Channel him.
Okay,
Channel him.
I'll do
Channel
that.
him.
I'll get him on the phone, but you can. Yeah, okay, we'll do
Hashtag Dicky Tummy.
that. Get well soon, Cone.
Get well soon, Cone. Let's ask Stephanie then. X Company is a historical drama series based on the events of World War II, but when you wrote the show, did you ever try to incorporate messages about the situations in the world today? Or did you purely root it in the past?
I absolutely, it's rooted in events that are happening today, as an echo of what happened then. I think we're entering a very interesting time in history, where I think people, not to get too epic here, but I think it's easy to form enemies. It's easy to designate someone an enemy by making them different from you, believing different things, and what we're trying to do with this show is question the whole notion of what it is to be an enemy. What does it mean to be on the right side or on the wrong side? And the theme of our third season is, can you fight the enemy without becoming the enemy? It is absolutely about today as well. And I'm really hoping that part of its entertainment is that you can hold it at a distance and say, this is about World War II, this is inspired by true events. But I think you should also be feeling echoes today about some things have not changed. Some things have a new name, some things have a new uniform, but some things have not changed.
Well, this goes into a great question by Claire Go for us, for Evelyn and Stephanie. The female characters in this are very, very strong. Did you find you had to superimpose a more modern take on them, or did you find historical sources you could draw from that were strong and powerful women back then?
There were absolute historical sources and inspirations for these characters. There were many female resistance leaders. They may not have intended to, not have designated themselves as such, but they rose up when the need was felt. I really hope that people will, by watching the show, gain an interest in reading about that time. There are so many fantastic books and testimonials from the point of view of the women who were leaders as well. We did not just make this up because there's always a girl in an adventure show. We made this up as a tribute to the women who did this.
And who did you draw from, Evelyn?
These guys told me I should read a book. I keep talking about it, but I will in case you haven't heard yet. Agnes Humbert, she wrote a book called Resistance, and she was she worked for the resistance. She was in Paris, got captured, and got sent in work camps. And under the most horrible situations, she kept her sense of justice. She knew that she was right, and even after the war, when the work camp she was in, she got liberated, and she was very weak, and she kept fighting in that village, getting Nazis to get into trials, and so her sense of justice was so absolute. And I think that's something that Aurora carries, that I've drawn from that book that you recommended. There are many more. I mean, it's a topic that's endless and fascinating and inspiring.
Great. This is from Sonia Azluni, and this one is for the members of the team, Jack and Neil and Warren and Jack and Evelyn. For your characters, you've got Neil, you've got Alfred, you've got Aurora.
Somebody's done their homework.
How are they dealing with Tom's death individually?
You had to do it, didn't you, Mike?
Sorry, I promised I wouldn't.
Sorry.
The fallout from Tom's death is something that the characters have a constant discussion with. They've lost a vital prong of the team, and there's other losses that happen during season 2. You know, people are always losing people in war, and that's an important element of the show and how people kind of put themselves back together after that, the determination it gives them to succeed and to carry on fighting the fight.
And that was also his nickname at high school, Prong.
Vital prong.
Vital prong.
Great, Evelyn?
I think it's just, I mean, you said that, I think about all of us, and I think it's absolutely true. I think it gives us a sense of focus. All of those losses and all of the things we can't unsee and the things we can't undo, they have to mean something. So I think that's where I think season 3 really kicks off, is this, I think you have a lot of characters that just, it has to mean something. So they draw this renewed focus and energy.
And courage.
And courage, yeah. From the pain and the grieving.
That what they said, but also I think we not only do the team miss Tom, I think this team miss Dustin as well.
Yeah.
There's a big Tom-shaped hole.
That's right.
In our hearts.
In our hearts. There's no other prong like him.
I thought you said prawn at first.
Prawn?
A prawn.
Some prawns are vital.
A vital prawn that our group is missing.
No, I was seeing like all these tiny prawns.
Prawns in a dangerous game.
Hilarious. Oh, sorry. Whoa.
Uh-oh.
Another character who's had a lot of loss is Faber. Torben, you've had to deal with losses of,
Listen to his
from your
squeaky
own
voice now as well.
character.
It's dead deep in the show, but his real voice is not really.
How
gotta
hard is
pitch
it
it down.
to play a Nazi who's actually a sympathetic man?
I don't know. I don't know, how is it? It's challenging. It's challenging for me as an actor and also as a person. You know, I'm playing somebody who's part of the system, so he's not. I don't think that he's labeling himself as a Nazi in the first place. But how is it? I find it difficult because it's far away from what I believe in certain points, and on the other points he's taking so many twists towards a direction where it's so close to preserving the good aspects of himself. And I think that a vital part of everyday life is the struggle to be, although there are a lot of difficulties, to be a good person, and that is something I can relate to more than to the political aspects of that. I don't know. It's a mixed bag. On the one hand, it's really taking, and it's due to the great trust that is put into me with the delivery of this character. It's a very challenging task, but it's also very rewarding at the end of the day. You know, if I really get to the point where I get to expose myself a lot with this great bunch of people that's so protective and caring and generous at that time. And it's the most rewarding experience I've ever had as an actor as of now in my career or work life.
I think it's a testament to the writing, isn't it, that these characters, well, just because they are the baddies, they are human still, and you see both sides, and that you know that they're all human and they're all fallible and they all have their weaknesses. And
it's about it's basically the whole show is very much dedicated, what I think, character-wise, to something that is, and maybe it kind of relates to what you said before about ambiguity. It's so easy to label things and just put a label on something and say this is definitely this, it's definitely that, and there's so much more to it. Life is so complex, and you want to do something good, but you have to sacrifice something else on the side, maybe, and it pays a lot of respect to what I think is genuine truth within that. So
and this I guess will go to both Stephanie and Torben together. You know, the show is about, it started out as the 5 agents that were doing this, but really there's become this arc of Franz Faber over the 3 seasons and how he has changed. How did you approach writing that for Torben? Did it change at all after you had cast him as Faber?
It did. I think when you begin a series, you never know exactly where it's going to end up. And the way that you end up developing the characters has a lot to do with what the actors bring to it. And there are some actors you realize are really good at delivering the comic subtext, and others are really good at the vulnerable self-expression. And to have had the privilege of working with Torben, we felt there was something. The character was originally inspired by a Gestapo chief who did have a daughter who had Down syndrome. That much of it is true. Everything else we invented beyond that. The idea of a man of great power and authority who has a vulnerability was something that always intrigued us. By the time we got to work with him and develop the character further, we realized this was a nice way to kind of mirror everything we're struggling for ethically versus a sort of a counterpart, and to end up in the 3rd season where these 2 sides have fused to a point where you don't know who the baddies are anymore. And that has a lot to do with having come across an actor who can handle that range of emotion. So one of the things that we're sad about in advance, knowing that we're going to have to take our leave from the show, is to take our leave from an ensemble of actors like this that have inspired us to write beyond what we had first imagined when we first conceived of this series.
Great.
Very true.
And Stephanie, you're directing the last block, but this one is actually for Evelyn beside you. Have you ever considered directing?
Oh, that's a strange question because I thought about this for the first time ever like 3 weeks ago. Strangely, I for some reason thought it's not for me. I don't have the, you know how if you direct an orchestra you have ears all over. I thought my focus is too small. I wouldn't get it. I can focus on my own journey and what I have to do, but I can't see wide enough. But I think this show has taught me a lot. For some reason, I think it's broadened my. The answer is yes. I might need another 10 years of experience in this field, and I'm not ready yet, but I would love to.
That's awesome.
Here we go.
Would you hire me?
Of course.
Awesome.
Let's do it.
Okay, it's a deal.
Done.
It's a deal.
Deal. Live on TV. Great.
I'm
First,
totally
I want to
serious.
act with you.
Okay.
I want to be on the same side of the camera as you.
Okay, let's
With
do
yours
that.
behind.
Awesome. Okay, I'm
Time
excited.
traveling auroras.
Exactly.
Good spin-off.
That's right. Yeah.
This is for the whole ensemble. Is there a scene from either of the first 2 seasons or this season that have stuck with you personally and you just kind of keep playing back in your head?
I have
Go.
You went first.
I think there's a very popular one between the spies, which was the scene, the parachute jump. We talked about it a lot in season 1 in our publicity for that, but that was the first time we were all together as a team, the 5 of us, and it was the start of an amazing journey for all of us, for our characters and for us personally. And just the feeling of goodwill and of helping each other out, that is just suddenly we realised what an exceptional bunch of people we had next to us.
Literally
All-
vibrating at the
Yeah,
move.
all doing
And
it.
the fact that we were in an actual plane flying.
Actually,
which
and
helped.
parachuting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
and
actually
parachuting.
parachute. It was like terrifying.
Yeah, it was terrifying,
It's
but
good that
something
we
we
got
had to
to do
do.
that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Cool.
You know, I think I have one scene that is, for me, is iconic, and none of us are
Was
in
it the scene where we kiss? Oh.
Sorry, dude.
No, it's okay, it's okay.
No, yeah, it's the scene where we kiss. After that, there's Matthias. Remember from season 1? When he
yeah.
says,
Yes.
when he lowers the little girl's arms and takes off the resistance flag on her shoulders and takes the shame away from everything that happened and says, "Happy to learn to know you."
Oh yeah.
That's what. Yeah, she says that to
It
him.
gets to me
It's
every time.
it's such a beautiful scene.
They say it to each other.
Yeah.
Still like, "Ooh,
Yeah,
happy to
yeah,
learn
she
to know
was
you."
amazing.
Yeah. Oof.
And the way that's
It
shot,
means so
there's
much, yeah.
there's so much sunlight in that scene.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
It's true. That's kind of a defining moment, and it was inspired by a true story as well. That little girl is actually my stepmother. You didn't know this?
What the?
Yeah, the story of the young girl living in a house that's been taken over by Nazi officers, where one of the younger officers tried to befriend her and said, I've got a little daughter and she's about your age. And she was just kind of like giving him the stink eye, and her mother kept saying, just behave, don't say anything, don't do anything wrong. That little girl is my stepmother.
Wow.
Right down, she didn't make a flag out of the resistance flag, but she protested in her own way and got into a lot of trouble. And I only learned that over dinner a few years ago. So that's and at the moment of him lowering the arm, that's a fictionalized way of showing the bond between two people kind of reluctantly playing the roles that history has forced on them. But that's interesting that you bring that up. And Happy to Learn to Know You is a direct translation of how you would say it in German.
Yeah. It's the
to me
very, very literal, like syllable by syllable.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
To learn
To meet you is to learn to know you in German.
I think one that stuck in my mind, and I just can't lose. Often you forget the bloody dialogue when you're doing it, but I still have the dialogue of the Rolf torture scene. It just will never go away. And I thought, that's cool. I know some German. And snowboarding a couple of years back in Austria, I'm like, cool, I can speak German. So I would go into a restaurant and be like, das Radio ist nicht kaputt. Wenn das Radio kaputt ist, dann wir brauchen dich nicht. Verstanden? Dann bist du tot. I thought, that's cool, but really, I'm saying to a waitress, the radio isn't broke. If the radio's broke, then we don't need you. Then you're dead. Do you understand? Which didn't go down too well. Après ski. But yeah, I just can't get rid of that dialogue.
I think there are two bits that are for me like iconic that I always have in my mind. The one bit is I remember seeing the first bits and pieces that were edited together, and it was with the song of the singer in this opera scene, and it was beautifully laid out. And there's this one shot of Connor underneath the bridge when he's pushing down the detonator, and this slow-mo reaction that he has with everything, the sheer relentlessness of what's happening in his body underneath that was just that kind of caught me. And the other moment I liked very much because it felt so truthful, and I'm still like hooked on this song by when the ribbon breaks. It was the montage at the end of
Wanna Go Take Me Home.
The end of 101, which was just amazing, with seeing you guys there drink, and I did you were just freestyling, and you had this thing with the with jab and everything.
Drinking in the lounge.
You were swallowing down your tears, and it was just such a beautifully laid out moment that had such a depth and truthfulness to it. And if you watch it again, you will see so many things that are being paid off throughout the whole show. It's just one of the most magic moments I remember.
Yeah, and you're in that going, I'm going to get these.
One day, I'm going to get you. And when the lights are all out, I will follow your bus downtown. I'll see who's around.
Now we really should do the musical version.
X Company the musical
episode.
That's actually the next question. When is X Company the musical coming out?
Boss?
We're working on it.
So we have a question for the whole ensemble again. This one is from Kate Molden.
Hey, Kate.
Hi, Kate.
Does the cast do their own stunts? And if so, which one has been your most memorable one so far?
Parachute jumping.
Yeah, that was cool to do that. I love anything physical, and I love getting my hands dirty, and yeah, if you can do, I've done my own. If I can, I'll always do.
Unforgettable stairway kicking, like Jean-Claude Van Damme style, down the stairs
right.
in
In the opera
206.
story.
Yeah.
Damn
I
it.
mean, the credit
Pretty
goes.
impressive
The
one.
credit goes to our mate who went down the stairs backwards, not me. On that.
He sold it beautifully.
Yeah.
I think the tank, for me, was my favorite. Going home at night and sort of thinking I just ran on top of a wet, muddy tank.
A tank in flames.
In flames.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
Yeah, that
proud of
wasn't
myself.
dangerous.
Pretty excellent.
That wasn't dangerous at all, Mom.
It's turned out super cool as well, that
Yeah,
bit.
I liked it.
Well,
Yeah.
me and Connor and I, Colin, when we had to jump out the train, and I remember Jamie Stone having a video, and he said, listen, this is what we've tested it, and we've done it on this little bit, and he rolled, and was like, all right, that looks cool. And then when we got to the actual location, we're like, yeah, that's not the little hill that you said. Yeah, why I oughta.
I remember our first fight too. It wasn't a fight; it was just a takedown. But it
was
had
a
all
good
these.
takedown, though, yeah.
It had
Yeah.
all these cool moves.
Yeah.
It was my first stunt ever, so I was a bit nervous when we started rehearsing.
It rocked though.
Yeah, we did.
And we have another question from Jenny, actually, for the ensemble too.
Hi, Jenny.
Is acting very different when you have to speak with an accent or in a different language?
Always. It's like in real life. You're a different person when you speak a different language. It's just, it changes everything, especially when it's not your first language or when the character is actually putting on an accent or another, you know, is doing another language, then you have to play what's underneath as well, and it changes everything. I remember when I was thinking of Helena Bauer, which you will see a lot more of in season 3. I was thinking, how am I going to make her different than Aurora? And I was trying to sort of intellectually define how she would be, and automatically when I started listening to Torben's voice and learning the lines and where those lines hit in how they resonate in your body and how they make you stand, and just automatically you become someone else. And I thought, wow, it's a free character right there. But it just, it takes care of itself. It really changes your soul.
But the double-edged bit on this is that anytime there is another accent or another language, we're already acting a character who's then acting another character, double acting. Or triply acting.
Not everyone can handle that.
It's layers like an onion.
Yeah, and the doing stuff in other languages, that takes a lot of practice if you have no knowledge previously of that language. I mean, I knew a little bit of German, but that stuff I did in season 2 in German, quite extensive bits of German. But in the end, I really, really enjoyed it, and you're right, it does transform you into someone else. And I particularly like the kind of when you work on other languages, when you're acting, the poetry of that other language, the way the sentence structure, and how that suggests different meaning. Yeah.
That's true.
I prefer actually learning the language. Like when we've done the German, we've had to learn the German, and it's okay for you because your French accent's pretty good because you've been practicing it for a while. But when we've had to be French, I've struggled a little bit with that. I would have preferred to go all in and learn the French. Because when I do the French accent, it is like I'm drunk or something.
But then you told a really good joke.
Quite often you are playing the drunk
I'm playing a French man who is drunk, and I have
Word
some
my
French
truck,
people
he just
placed
broke it down.
around here. Horse.
Torben, did you charge any of these guys for lessons on the side in German?
Not yet,
free.
because I'm not. I'm kind of writing it down. I'm gonna present you all with the overall bill in the end. No, just kidding. No, I didn't charge them. I mean, it's the same thing for me because
He's
English
not
is
the
not
only
my.
German on the show, by the way.
But he's the one with the nicest voice.
Where's the other one? Where is he? Where is he? No, but
He also did endless recordings. For me, anyway, you recorded all of my German stuff.
Oh, but I like doing that. I like doing that.
He's a kind man.
You've
nice.
never helped me. I've only did it once. Mine was Ralph Rickacon did mine.
Was Canadian
So
actually
you're
the
nothing
hardest?
to me, Torv.
Oh, that's a good question.
Was that Canadian? Was that actually the hardest?
I was terrified doing that Canadian. Yeah, I was terrified, which probably helped Alfred be terrified too. But yeah, now I really love it. Really love the Canadian accent, and now I can slip in and out of it quite seamlessly. And yeah, it's a great joy.
Just like super.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, sure.
See, there's his high-pitched voice. That's his real voice. He's using his father voice for this, but off camera.
Hey guys, you want to go La Pampa? Hey guys, let's get some dinner.
let's go get a steak. I am looking for my son. Akim.
For my son.
Looking for my son.
Akim.
Ich weiß, man hört es an der Sprache.
Ich weiß. Quedlinburg im Harz.
Ja.
Ich weiß, man hört es an der Sprache.
Ah.
Have we got anyone from Germany tuning in? Comment.
anymore.
No.
No, they are all working now. We lost them.
I'm going to ask Evelyn a question that I think we lost in the first bit when there was no sound, but it's from Ashley. And she said, you have an uncanny ability to deliver heartache and torment on such a visceral level, especially in season 2. What was it like projecting Aurora's demons and burdens for so much of the season?
What was it like? That's a very broad question, but I'm gonna draw from a question you asked me earlier today. What was the hardest scene to do emotionally? And I was thinking of the scenes and of the acting, of specifically getting into a place, because it's stuff I've never lived before. You know, pretending I'm someone else, my life being on the line, seeing horrific things that I can't unsee, but really the one thing that is the hardest, because the rest is just literally it's the work we have to do. We have to get ourselves there. The hardest bit is always when you read a script and you're like, oh wow, and it really hits you, and then you have that second wave and you realize it actually happened, or even worse. And that's when there's this absolute direct this direct connection to the fact, because it was part of a very important truth that affected so many people, it sort of taps into what's most important and serious about how seriously you take your craft and how well you want to deliver that story, because you want to honor the people who actually lived it. So it brings you to this very solid, dedicated place, I think. And then I draw from Mark and Steph. I think you've heard her in this live stream. The way they talk about the material and the way they talk about the scenes or the actual events that inspire the scenes is not only do they choose really, you know, you guys are writers, you have your way with words, you express yourselves very well, but you also carry a lot of emotion when you describe what you're talking about. And so for me, also connecting to them is also a way of connecting to the material and then getting into that space, if that answers the question.
This one is for all of you as well. What has been the most challenging aspect of being on the show? The locations, the hours, the traveling, the other cast members?
The cast members.
Be very careful.
What has been the hardest?
Yeah.
I'll let someone more sensible take this one.
I think there's something very intense about being far from home, being in a bubble of time and space, being part of an intense experience that only those who were there could possibly understand. It's nothing like going into battle. I would never see it, but there is something that breaks down barriers between people and kind of forges just a common experience that we're all far from our families, we're all far from loved ones, from things that keep us stable. I think that's hard. It's relentless. It's through the weeks, the hours are long, you end up raw, you end up emotional, you end up exhausted and drained. Burnout is very real. I'm just speaking from my own point of view. I think that's the hard part of it, is that it goes over months and it's far from home, and you're in an environment that's very, very welcoming and very supportive. We had a wonderful time in Hungary, but it's hard because you are alone, you are in an unfamiliar place, and you just have to draw together.
Absolutely. And I won't for 1 second try to claim that it's anything like war, but just the things like you say, being away from home and being in a strange environment and not knowing people, you know, those are things that help us in the situation that the characters are in.
But then doesn't those situations bring people together the most?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never had a sense of family like on this show ever. And I mean, there's something really special about that's one of the reasons why I chose this job, is because it's a place where everyone is
Knows your
interdependent. Where everybody knows your name. But yeah, so
Pop cultural references from the 80s.
But yeah, it's like
Cheers, by the way, for all the young viewers. Great show.
it doesn't happen a lot in our lives where groups of human beings are perfectly in harmony. Everyone has a specific role to play, and it's functional, and it's not only functional, it's going towards a goal that we all believe in, and then not only do you get to do that during the day, then at night you get to sort of hang out with amazing friends and deepen those ties. And it is weird not to get back to people who actually know your name and have known you for a lot of years. Like, I didn't know these guys existed until 3 years ago, but now they're part of my life forever. I mean, that's a blessing in a sense. So it is kind of unsettling. But when you're unsettled, you hold on to whomever's there. No, I'm joking. Whoever's close. I'm joking.
Jokes.
Jokes.
No, but
Set
we say it all
banter.
the time. like,
Hashtag set banter.
Hashtag love my jaw.
Don't you dare act as life.
It's the worst thing in the
That is-
world. Literally.
You just mentioned that you said you felt like a family and that you all came together. We've even got ducks in our live stream. If given the opportunity, so this should be a good contentious one, which person among the cast would you want to work with on a future project?
What was the first bit? Oh, was that just...
Given the opportunity?
Oh, given the opportunity.
Yeah.
That's the bit I missed because of the flying
Because of the
fish.
duck. The duck, really.
I'd work with any of these bastards.
yeah, same.
Yeah.
In a,
And-
The whole bunch
Anytime.
of them. The whole bunch of them.
In a heartbeat.
these here anyway. Not anyone on the show.
So here's an interesting one then for Neil and Evelyn. From Claire Go.
You're very
She said,
convincing
I
with the-
find Neil and Aurora's friendship is underrated. While they don't communicate a lot verbally, a lot is said through eyes and hands. How would you describe Neil and Aurora's
Also,
friendship?
we were wearing the same coat last year. I don't know if you guys noticed. The characters didn't quite call each other that morning. No, I think it's true. I think she noticed something. We actually have a scene, a friendship scene coming up, and we realized, there was a sort of a quiet journey. And last year, it was hard for I think my character to. Not only did she feel that her leadership was slipping away, but like people she was close to and trusted, kind of there was a distance. And I remember that hug that we did in that. I don't remember where it was, but
We've done a few hugs.
yeah, we had a few hugs. But remember that one, the one after the tank stuff, where we all say goodbye and I go up with Preston and then he ties. And you're dressed as a that one. I remember it felt a bit like, whew.
I think really early doors, because Neil was the first one that was a bit skeptical. Skeptical, that's the right word, isn't it? Yeah, skeptical. Skeptical. Of Aurora being in charge, because I think he always felt that he was the next in line. But I think as the seasons have gone on and he's seen her in charge, and he has complimented her on her work and on her leadership. That they're on a level, and he has always quietly. They've not had too much to do together, but I think there's always been that respect.
Mm-hmm.
And dare I say it with all the team that they're right there, and it's life and death, and I think that they're that close that they all have a love for each other.
Yeah. There's a deep trust, I feel, also.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to, right?
This is a question for Stephanie from Ashley. What was the casting process like, and what was it about each of your cast that flipped the switch inside you that made you and Mark go, that's the one?
Oh, wow. Yeah, there's a magic moment for each one. The casting process is vast. So many contenders are brought forward, so many excellent contenders as well. Yeah, I remember the click moment for each of you. I can go through with it. I remember the moment for you. It was you were talking about the loss of your family, and it was so understated and so real. And it's just a fellow in a room with a video camera creating something so true. Jax, I'll never forget yours either. You were being. There's the way you performed the scene, but in addition to that, the casting director was engaging you in a conversation. You're talking about a play that you had been in, and it was just the way that you breathed and touched your chest at one point, and I thought, that's it. There's something so profoundly sensual about this person, and so thoughtful and so real. And there's also a bit of a mournful quality that I think Alfred has at the beginning. That there was something that you had as well. Evelyn, it was like love at first sight. It's hard to describe how hard it is to be given a handful of sides and have to put your heart and soul onto a scrap of video with nothing around you and just someone repeating the words at you who sometimes doesn't even understand them. I know from when I was acting. But those who make you just want to spend all day in the company of that person, that you mastered the German poem that we had given you to
That
say.
was my favorite bit.
Oh, it was a beautiful resistance poem, and she delivered it with such emotion and simplicity. And her audition scene was the scene between the two of them where she talks about him having saved lives, 111 lives. It was sort of awkward, shy, but at the same time strong, and it was the sweetest invitation. Nobody hit that note the way that you did. And yeah, and no, it's true. It's like this is, it's crazy. It's a little bit like the speed dating situation, but you have to reach sometimes for the fast forward. It breaks your heart because I know what that's like. But sometimes you gotta I'm sorry. No, oh, okay. And Torben, like, how can you? I can't even. I don't even know where to start with Torben. It was a very simple scene in which he was being all business, but then he sort of went, hello, cuckoo. And it turns out Uli's under his desk, and he's kind of playing peekaboo games with his son. And he was so fully believable, so sweet as a loving father. And at the same time, all business, get these files, get what, you know. It's just, you know it right away. You just really do. It was the same with Connor. It was a Skype audition. We had a chance to actually interact a little bit. It was he
Can you
responded.
see me? Is it on?
That's exactly what he sounded like. Oh, shucks.
We have the same voice coach.
That's right.
Him and me.
Yeah, it's exasperating as an actor. It can be a soul-sucking experience as an actor. It's a very difficult experience, strangely, as the person on the receiving end. But when the sparks happen, it just makes you want to stand up and hug the video. That's how happy it is, because you know, we're in good hands. We can write anything for this person. Yeah, we've struck out beautifully, and that's not what I meant. We've hit home runs, I think, with each of these guys.
And the cool thing is that there were no chemistry reads. That's also the thing about the being a family thing. We're like, had one of us been an asshole, I mean, it would have been a completely different adventure. But then you turn up, and not only are you on this amazing show that you're so lucky to be on and that you believe in and that you're so excited about, but you're there with extremely cool, friendly, like wonderfully different yet every individually amazing people.
What are the odds?
How magical is that?
Oh, I do have to mention Dustin's audition. There was a scene that actually didn't end up getting filmed. It didn't end up being necessary for the story, but it was a scene where Tom is sort of finishing up in bed with a prostitute. And it's a tender scene where he actually cares more about her than he wants to admit. Lots of people auditioned for it. Lots of people did a good job. He's the only one who took his shirt off.
Of course he did.
He is an actor of extreme integrity and skill, but he also took his shirt off. It's a very Dustin thing to do.
So any aspiring actors out there, you've heard it here. Take it off.
So taking the shirt off overcame all the puns in the audition?
All the puns. I'm kind of kidding about it. There's no way, like, if a lesser actor had pulled that move, I would have thought, oh, that you're just trying to compensate for what you can't offer. But it was just like, this is a guy who is just so willing to offer himself to this role, into this show. It's irresistible.
He does have an amazing body.
It does.
Yeah, I guess he does.
Our heart shape, our hole in our hearts that's shaped like Tom also has little abs.
Yeah. Put your heart on.
Oh
Yes.
my god.
The prom.
That's a line. That's a
series.
line.
I,
from the series.
I know.
It's okay.
I watched it.
It's a prom with abs.
We have a question from Emma Mitchell from the live stream, and she said, hi, can you please ask the actors what is their favorite thing from the 40s that they found when working on the show?
I can tell you. Clothing. I've said it before and I'll say it again. It suits women, it suits men. Everybody has a great figure. It's simple. I think the lines were simple because people didn't have that much fabric, so it's never over the top. It never poofs out in any way. It just complements the human body so very well, so elegantly, and so minimalistically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's my favorite part.
What about you dudes?
Brown Town?
Oh, shucks. I think the attire, and the look. Yeah, I've not done period too much, and I've quite enjoyed it. bit of a parting and some braces.
The cars are quite cool too.
Yeah,
Cars.
Yeah,
the cars.
cars.
Yeah.
Although bloody dangerous, some of them.
One of them
They
smelled.
look amazing.
I thought it was
but-
about to explode. There was like this plastic tube, and it's sort of hanging in the plastic bin of gas, kind of wobbling in
Yeah.
the back. And I was like,
What about the one where we're where's that after Rolf when it turned out that he was telling the truth?
Oh,
And
that
we
you
were,
were
no, we
driving
were all
in
of us,
those-
all five of us were in
yeah,
it,
yeah.
and I'm driving it, and it's like super difficult to drive. And then there's
On
these
a cobbled
bloody-
street, right,
A cobbled
with, like-
a cobbled street, and there's these
checkpoint
the
thingies.
things that I've got to dodge around.
And a bit of an emotional situation.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
and there's a camera there,
Yeah.
and you were crying, and yeah.
Yeah, you did good.
Yeah, that was tricky. But not the car that we had. Who was that? Me and Cone again. That's Harry. I mean, who's the kid who plays Harry? What's his name? Canor Pricky.
Cone face.
Canor Pricky. Yeah, the car that we had at the beginning of this season nearly killed us in it.
We had the truck too. We had the laundry truck.
The laundry truck.
The 40s overalls.
Yeah.
What else?
The whole styling of that period is beautiful, and the sense of occasion that all those things demand.
Hats,
Actually,
yeah.
the hats.
The
Yeah, I love
fedoras.
that hat.
Oh yeah.
Anything you're going to incorporate into your personal wardrobes?
I've been given my hat, my Alfred hat. Yeah, I was given at the end of season 1, so that's had to travel back from England each time.
You're probably not going to keep much of your Nazi uniform, I imagine.
The watches too. This is the most beautiful
The
watch
watch is
you'll
great.
ever
Actually,
see.
it's not the real time because it's a fake one.
Oh,
so
But it's so beautiful.
yeah.
Schoolboy era,
All
my
the
friend.
dudes have nice
Schoolboy
watches.
era.
What?
If you've got a set watch and it fits period, make sure you get one that works so you know the actual time on set, so you know when it's really dinner time. It's not
And
a fake
then,
one, it's not an
after
old
that,
one.
what do? You take your shirt off.
If you're a boy.
I would like to
Two
throw in
rules.
one word. It's called continuity.
Okay, so we have
Continuity.
a couple more questions here. Second last one is for Torben, and it's what's
Torby
your
Pops.
favorite scene that you've done with Livia?
The favorite scene with Livia. It's so hard to answer because there's not so many like really fun Faber scenes. Like it's not like
Good
she can
times.
say how was your day at work and say good. It was actually good. Yes. I think for me in a way, like as an actor, it's always fun to act with her because it's very rewarding and she has a genuinely great understanding of where she wants to go with the scene and where what we can explore within those scenes. I think it's always fun to work with her, and even so it's even in a way fun to do the complicated scenes. Like there was a lot of mourning, and there's still so much coming up in this season. Like with them exploring where they really are together, and it's to make it sure I don't have. There's not like the one scene. It's the overall thing of acting with her, but it goes with everyone here. It's just I have to say this is I said it before and I say it again over and over again. It's the most rewarding show I could imagine myself to be on, like because everybody's so giving, warm-hearted, and yeah.
Great. This one is for the entire ensemble, so we'll end with one for all of you guys. Has your involvement with the show changed your perspective or understanding of Canada's involvement in World War II?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think I don't think any of us actually knew of the involvement and knew about Campex until this show. I certainly didn't.
I didn't either. Yeah.
So the fact that it played such a huge part of the Allies winning, the Second World War, and not a lot of people know about it again, which is something I'm thrilled about to be part of this, to be telling that piece of history that is so crucial and so untold.
Yeah, vital to the war effort.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you all for your time. I know the fans have been enjoying it all along, so
Thank you for turning up.
Thanks,
Thanks,
guys.
guys.
Hope you enjoy season 3.
How do we say
Yeah.
thanks in Portuguese, in Brazilian?
Obrigado. I think
Obrigado.
it's
And to a lot of people it would be.
no. I think it's. I think it's. I think
Still
always
rolling,
the
guys.
acting is always like comes for your gender.
So I say obrigada.
Is it obrigada?
Obrigada.
Is it obrigado?
Obrigada.
Obrigado.
Bruce Willis is a ghost, by the way, in Sixth Sense. Spoiler.
Ciao.
Pop culture references.
Go.